there, YouTube. This is Vargas XX78 with another episode from the Super Vargas Bros Audiocast. Doing this solo because my brother unfortunately has internet issues, so I can't do the whole online conversation with him. So we were actually talking about doing another top 5 thing, but because of issues, we can't do that. But I'm trying to be as consistent as I can with these audio casts. Try to record them and publish them and edit them and put them out on YouTube on Friday. So today being Friday, that's why I didn't want to skip this. So now being able to actually, talk with someone else and do that topic, I want to talk about some things that I read online this week, and just share with you guys some thoughts on the whole thing. First off, today, Friday, May the 29th, the new amiibos are gonna come out, and also Splatoon. Splatoon came out for the Wii U, and honestly, of the new wave, the only amiibos I'm interested in is getting the Charizard and the the Charizard and the Pac-Man amiibos. Pac-Man because he's the last non-Nintendo character that appeared for Smash Brothers, Sonic and Mega Man being the other two. And I've unfortunately read a bunch of notes online that Pac-Man is also sought after by other video gamers and collectors. So I'm really hoping I'm able to get Pac-Man, because like I said, he's the last one I want. And Charizard, I don't think that one will be that hard to find, honestly, because Pikachu, I've still seen Pikachus out there, and Charizard is very popular, so I'm confident that Nintendo will publish a bunch of Charizard amiibos. So I think that my odds on getting Charizard is a lot better than my chances of getting Pac-Man. But Charizard is of course my favorite Pokemon out of all the, I don't know what number they're up on right now, but of Generation 1, ever since Generation 1, Charizard has been my favorite one. And since Generation 1, anytime I can capture or get a Charmander, I always train it to become a Charmeleon and then finally a Charizard. Each one of my Pokemon games has always had a Charizard, so that particular Pokemon has a lot of special value for me. So that's why I really want to get the Charizard amiibo. Besides the pose and the mold that they use for him looks really cool. So I'm hoping I'm able to get those two amiibos. Also, recently I was doing inventory of my video games. The way I keep track of my inventory is that I have an Excel sheet, and every time I purchase a game for a console, I just add that to the Excel sheet and then total everything up. I'm up to 1,100 and I was up to 1,195 games. I still need to record a video, but I'm waiting for me to add some more stuff. But I recently picked up Silent Hill Homecoming. Me and the wife went to Blockbuster Mexico, and they had Silent Hill Homecoming for 150 pesos, which is about $10 and some cents. I was going through GameStop because, with the recent news that Konami is opting out of the consoles and going mobile, I got this urge to pick up Konami games, mostly to complete collections. Like I said, I want to complete Konami and get Konami games that will complete certain sets. For example, I want to get Lords of Shadow 2, and if I can, Order of Ecclesia, so I can complete my Castlevania collection. But somehow I forgot about the Silent Hill games. I knew I was missing Origins, but for some reason I forgot that I didn't have Homecoming and Downpour. So I'm not interested in the HD collection because I've heard a bunch of bad things about those ports. And I have the 2 and 3 for the PlayStation 2. So I'm glad that I was able to get Homecoming. But with Homecoming, I'm up to 1,195. So as I was doing inventory, I realized that I've been buying and collecting games, but I haven't actually been playing and beating those games. So I promised myself a long while ago that if I ever reached 1,200 video games and I didn't have most of them beaten, that I would stop buying video games flat out until I get through a backlog that I made. So yeah, and also it's by the time I reach 1,200 video games, my daughter will be born. So it's a good time to stop buying video games anyway and focus on my daughter and actually beating some of the games. But I was able to get Silent Hill Homecoming, and I'm only 5 games away from that goal. And the 5 games I've decided that I'm gonna get is I'm gonna get a Super Mario 3D World for the Wii U. I want to get Majora's Mask 3D for the 3DS. I also want to get Mario Kart 7 for the 3DS, and that way I'll complete my Mario Kart collection. I also want to get Bayonetta 2, because it has the disc for it has a separate disc for 1, and it has Bayonetta 2, so that's a good combo. And I also want to get Castlevania Lords of Shadow 2 for the PlayStation 3. So those are the 5 games that I'm gonna actually actively hunt down, and then I'm gonna stop flat out buying video games. So yeah, that's another goal that I have for myself. As far as my backlog, I just recently rebeat the first Uncharted. I'm working my way through Uncharted 2 so I can finish that one, and then I'll start Uncharted 3. After that, I don't know what series I'll start playing, so I can, again, finish my backlog of video games. But right now I'm playing through Uncharted, and I'm having a lot of fun with Uncharted. For the PlayStation 3, then I want to maybe, I'm thinking of either going through the Ratchet and Clank games on the PlayStation 3, or something on the Wii, or the Wii U. But that's another thing I'm focusing on right now. Also, I haven't actually gone to pick up my comic books, but I was going through Newsrama and IGN, and I kind of spoiled the last issue of Convergence. I was reading through the review, and I read the big spoiler that happened in Convergence number 8. So if anyone out there hasn't read the issue, just skip ahead. But I read online that the big thing about Convergence is that the heroes from all the different cities of the multiverse that were saved by Brainiac basically break free and defeat Deimos, which is the sorcerer that was able to steal Chronicle energy and wants to become the ruler of the planet Telos, where all the cities are in. So basically, the heroes are able to defeat them, and they free Brainiac as a means to get everyone back where they belong. And Brainiac tries to do so, but unfortunately, something is stopping him from doing so. And the thing that ends up causing that is the original Crisis on Infinite Earths, which is the big thing that destroyed the DC multiverse. The big first event that destroyed the DC multiverse to try to streamline the whole continuity. So Brainiac can't do anything because of that big event. That big event is screwing around with the whole thing. So what they end up doing is that they send back in time Supergirl and Barry Allen the Flash, but also some other heroes asked to be sent back so that they can, try to prevent the crisis and make things work out differently. So Hal Jordan, whose Parallax goes back, and they also say that the Superman that was restarted in the John Byrne reboot, and then in Convergence, in one of the miniseries, had a child with Lois Lane, because in the old timeline they were married, and some other heroes, but they didn't mention which ones. They go back in time. they alter the crisis, so once again the whole multiverse is back. And honestly, I don't see what what the point. I still have to actually read the story because I haven't gone and picked up those issues, but I don't see what DC's fascination is with, introducing the multiverse, or introducing hypertime, or introducing all these different realities. They have this weird fascination with with their multiverse, and then they collapse it with things like 0 Hour, or all the different crises, and then whenever it tickles their fancy, they bring it back. They brought it back with the new 52. There was originally 52 universes in the multiverse, which then collapsed upon itself, and then there once again 52, and then they collapsed it again, and now the multiverse is back. The only thing they did is that they updated a couple of things because of the events in Convergence. And the people from Earth 2 ended up staying in the Tellus planet. So that's the new Earth 2. So the Justice Society has their own planet again. So honestly, again, I still need to read the story, but it honestly does feel like a very lackluster event. It didn't really culminate in anything because there was already a multiverse in place, and which they kind of got rid of or stopped talking about, and then they brought back, and now it's back. So I don't know why DC feels the need to complicate themselves with all these constant resurrections of the multiverse just so they can do a big event and then bring it back crashing down. So that's the only thing that's really frustrating about DC. They've never had a consistent universe. They've always dabbled with multiverse, and then because they promised the same thing when Hypertime was a thing, that writers can take elements from any part of the multiverse and use them on their stories, and that's what they're selling again. Is that with this new multiverse that Convergence created, their creators can use any part of the multiverse to fill their storylines. So again, I don't know if the people running DC have amnesia, or they think that the comic book fans have amnesia, that they're gonna forget the things they do in 4 or 5 years and then reboot everything again, and everything's gonna feel new. So it's really, really frustrating. That's the one thing that Marvel always had a one-up on DC. Marvel had their universes, but their main universe, the 616 universe, was its own thing. Recently, Marvel did a whole bunch of retcons, but for the most part, the history of the Marvel universe was more consistent than the history of the DC universe. Which now, because of the big Secret Wars event, that's a moot point. They've also announced that by the end of Secret Wars, the Marvel universe is going to be a whole different beast, and everything that came before will no longer apply. So now, none of the universes for comic books have any consistency. They have no legacy. Basically, there's no legacy behind any of it. And that's the thing that really bugs me in comic books right now. The whole Convergence thing sounded like a good event, but I got as far as issue 6, and all the big battles that were promised happened in the miniseries. So honestly, it seems like in the long run, Convergence was just a failed experiment. And I'm fearing the same thing is going to happen with Secret Wars. I haven't read issue 2. Unfortunately, like I said, I haven't gone for my comic book run. But issue 2 promises that Battle World is under the domain of Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom basically rules Battle World with an iron fist. Which is cool in concept, because Doctor Doom is by far my favorite Marvel villain. I just really like the concept of Doctor Doom, and I'm actually trying to actively pick up the issues where he appears, in whatever series that may be. But it's going to be interesting to see how that works out, because in Hickman's Fantastic Four run, he actually did become like a sort of a god of his own universe. He created his own universe, and that didn't work out for him. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in Secret Wars. But again, the prospect of a brand new Marvel universe is not interesting to me. Out of all the miniseries that Marvel has announced, the only ones I'm really looking forward to are the Spider-Man Renew Your Vows miniseries. Because that one is going to follow the marriage of Peter Parker and Mary Jane. Basically, what that is that the deal with Mephisto never happened. Peter Parker is still married with Mary Jane, and they have a daughter. So the promised daughter that was supposed to be born if the timeline would have happened and would have continued as it was originally intended to. So that one I'm excited about. That one I'm looking forward to. Also, I was excited about Old Man Logan, which is they're going to revisit the universe where basically the villains won and then decimated the superheroes, and Wolverine was one of the only superheroes left. But unfortunately, the problem with that is that Brian Michael Bendis is writing that book, and lately I am not a fan of Brian Michael Bendis. He started off doing really, really amazing work, but recently he's been kind of slacking off, and I'm not looking forward to his interpretation of Old Man Logan. Other than that, Deadpool Secret Wars, I reserved it, but I haven't picked it up. That one also sounds interesting, because it's basically they push the modern Deadpool into the original Secret Wars, so he seems to have played a part in that, a secret part in that. So I'm looking forward to that one. I didn't pick up Infinity Gauntlet. I didn't pick up Inferno. I'm not gonna pick up E for Extinction. I'm not gonna pick up the Extinction Agenda. The only one I might pick up is the Age of Apocalypse, because that crossover event, that one and Onslaught, as far as X-Men, as far as recent X-Men events, I really dug the Age of Apocalypse. I picked up all the minis that came after that, and I picked up the rebooted series that happened, because I really, really like the universe of the Age of Apocalypse, and I want to see how they revisit that. So that's, I think, the only one I'm gonna pick up. The Age of Apocalypse one, and also I'm thinking of picking up the Age of Ultron versus Marvel Zombies. I was not a fan of Age of Ultron, if I'm honest. Age of Ultron just didn't do it for me. But Marvel Zombies was a concept that seemed so far-fetched that it actually worked. The originals miniseries, all the other miniseries that they released afterwards, the crossover with Army of Darkness was really good. I really, really dug the Marvel Zombies universe, so it's gonna be cool to revisit that, even though the Marvel Zombies that are there it doesn't seem to be that focused from the original zombies. The Wolverine, the Hulk, the Spider-Man, Luke Cage, Captain America. It seems to be more of the zombified villains that were left over. But still, the concept of zombies versus robots is interesting, and I want to pick that one up. But other than that, unless they announce something that I didn't know about and I find out about, I don't think I'm going to pick up much of Secret Wars crossovers. And again, not looking forward to the Marvel Universe after that. They've announced a new lineup of Avengers, which props to them, because it's a different team of Avengers, but it's not a team that I'm particularly interested in. They've announced a new team that has different other characters thrown in. Not interested in that. They haven't mentioned anything about what's going to be the status quo for the X-Men or Spider-Man. So until they release some big news on that, I might actually end up stopping buying. Like I mentioned before, I might actually end up stopping buying the Marvel comics. DC, I'm only gonna stick with Batman, even though it has been revealed that Jim Gordon is gonna be the new Batman, since Bruce Wayne seems to be pretty much dead, along with the Joker. I'm gonna stick with Batman because Scott Snyder has written really, really good work on Batman. so I'm gonna stick to that. Superman, even though I hate the costume, seems interesting because they're going to do away with his secret identity. So gonna stick with that. See where they go with that now that Clark Kent has no place to hide, basically. Justice League is starting their Anti-Monitor Darkseid War, so at least that promises to be epic. And Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman is also going through some stuff that is building into something. It doesn't feel as epic as Azzarello's run, but it's building up to something. So I'm gonna stick with Wonder Woman for a while. Other than that, I think I'm only gonna keep buying the Darth Vader comic book, which is still consistently awesome. That Darth Vader comic book, the artwork is amazing. I think it's by far Salvador Larroca's best work so far. And I'm gonna stick with Star Wars, even though the creative team has a very limited contract, it appears. So I'll see what the new creative team does. But so far, Star Wars has been really, really good. Still on the fence on Witchblade, and I'm still gonna pick up Simpsons comics. So yeah, the state of my comic books and my comic book collecting is not that promising. Which again, I guess it's a good thing considering that my daughter is about to be born, and I'm gonna have to cut back on a few things. So basically, it looks like it's gonna be comic books and video games. I might actually end up buying back issues. There are some big holes on my Wolverine collection. I need at least the first 15 issues of the original Wolverine series. My Fantastic Four collection has a few gaps. My Action Comics could do a little work. I still want to get a couple of Ghost Riders and Doctor Stranges. So I might end up picking up back issues to try to complete those holes in the collection, since everything new is not that interesting. Movie wise, after seeing Age of Ultron, I haven't gone actually to see anything else. The wife, myself, and a couple of nephews went to see Age of Ultron, and on some parts I honestly got a sense of deja vu. A lot of big events seemed very similar to the first one. This baddie that uses an army to destroy a city seemed very reminiscent, but honestly the character moments made the movie worth it. I liked the interaction with the Avengers. The whole thing with Black Widow and the Hulk did honestly come out of nowhere. I do agree with everyone that I've seen a review on that. The Black Widow Hulk thing honestly did seem to come out of nowhere. Like a lot of people, I thought that the Black Widow was gonna go for Cap instead of this thing with the Hulk. But I like the Scarlet Witch. I think the Scarlet Witch was by far the best character, the best new character that they introduced. Honestly, I'm sad to see Quicksilver go so fast. I understand, but even that felt like a bit of deja vu, because in the first one, Coulson dies, and that's the big motivator for the Avengers. And in here, Quicksilver dies at the end, so it pushes some drama. But I honestly felt that they killed him off. It might have something to do with the fact that Quicksilver is also in the Fox X-Men movies, and honestly, the scene that scene with Quicksilver in the Pentagon scene was so awesome, and Quicksilver in the Avengers movie had a couple of moments, but nothing as cool as that. So I don't know, maybe that was part of the deal that Marvel could keep the Scarlet Witch, but they had to do away with Quicksilver. But it was a good movie. The party where everyone's trying to lift up Mjolnir was pretty cool. Ultron was hit or miss sometimes. The Vision was cool. Honestly, the cape is the only thing that looked fake, but the makeup on the Vision was pretty cool. I'm hoping that's all practical, actual makeup, and they didn't, CG anything that they didn't need to. But the Vision visually looked pretty cool, except the cape. The cape honestly did throw me off because it looks fake. The cape is the only thing that genuinely looks fake. Looking forward to Captain America Civil War after this. Um, Ant-Man, I'm gonna go see because it's a Marvel series, but without Hank Pym is the one that created Ultron, and he was a founding member of the Avengers, and having him removed from this kind of takes away from the Ant-Man movie. Also, I was really looking forward to that movie being directed by Edgar Wright. But I'll still give Ant-Man a chance. I mean, I haven't seen a single Marvel movie that I didn't like so far, so I'm hoping Ant-Man will continue that streak. The other movie I'm really looking forward to seeing right now is Jurassic World, but that's going to be released here in Mexico on June the 11th. The only other movie that's out there that I haven't seen is Mad Max. That whatever that movie is, I don't know if it's a reboot or a sequel or a reimagining or whatever the hell that movie is, but the original two first Mel Gibson movies were really good. I didn't much care for Thunderdome, but I've heard a lot of things from coworkers. Some have said that it's the best action movie they've seen in a while. Another coworker said that it wasn't really that good. That everyone else hyped that movie so much that when he finally actually got to see it, it just wasn't that good. But I do want to go see it just out of curiosity, just to see if it's any good, basically. The other movie that's released that I don't think I'll be able to get to see is the San Andreas movie with The Rock. It's really funny because when I heard that they were going to make a San Andreas movie, I honestly, for some reason, thought that they were going to do a Grand Theft Auto movie because of Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. And when they announced that The Rock was going to be the star, I was like, yeah, he kind of looks like the character from San Andreas, at least the pumped up version that you could create. And then it's not even that. It turns out it's a disaster movie. That there's this big earthquake in the San Andreas fault, and that causes a whole bunch of destruction. But if I'm honest with you guys, I actually do enjoy disaster movies. I think it comes like my love for Kung Fu and Godzilla movies. I remember watching with my dad on TV movies like the best movie that I still enjoy a lot is the Towering Inferno, the Poseidon Adventure, Meteor, Earthquake, movies like Armageddon. I freaking love Armageddon, even though it's really a stupid movie. Independence Day, Twister. It's one of the reasons why I went to see Into the Storm, even though that movie had issues. 2012 wasn't that good, but Day After Tomorrow. Basically, all those disaster movies, I enjoy watching them. If it's well done, it really is a very interesting genre when they introduce these characters, and if done well, you get to actually care about the characters, and it's really surprising and sad when one of the characters that you kind of like dies, and it's very satisfying when a character that you hate dies in a very, very ironic or horrible way. But I like the spectacle of it. The reason why I love the Towering Inferno so much is because that was done old school style. It's a movie from the 70s, and they used actual fire. There was no CG in this. On certain parts, it does seem like they use miniatures, but everything else, it's actual fire. You can actually feel the heat on that movie. It's surprising that they were able to pull off those fire scenes at all, because it looks so dangerous for some of the stunt people. But that by far is my favorite disaster movie, the Towering Inferno. Followed by, I have to say, Independence Day, even though that's really more of an alien invasion sci-fi movie. But the image of the alien shooting the beam and destroying the White House is still burned into my skull, and I still enjoy the hell out of Independence Day. So I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing that one. My wife doesn't want to go see that one because it's a thing that might actually happen with a big earthquake here in California, but I still want to go see that movie because I love the spectacle of a disaster movie. And I like The Rock as an actor. He's very charismatic. He was great in the last Fast and the Furious movie, even though he wasn't in it that much. that fight with Jason Statham and at the end where he's walking with the minigun was really cool. So it's a movie that I'm interested in watching. And the big one, of course, again is Jurassic World. I'm so looking forward to that movie. I was talking to some people at work, and a lot of them think it's a reboot. And I was trying so hard to explain to them, and it's not a reboot. It's a sequel. A company, I don't know if it's Engine or a company similar to Engine, goes there and actually makes the park work. But then, dinosaurs aren't enough, so they decide to genetically engineer this. It sounds like it's going to be a cross between a velociraptor and a T-Rex, and they made this giant, big, dangerous, smart thing, and they lose control out of it. So I'm really, really looking forward to Jurassic World. Jurassic World again is going to be released on the 11th. My daughter might be born by the end of June, so Jurassic World might actually be the last movie I get to see, in at least in the immediate future. The other movie I'm so looking forward to, and I've already imagining and planning how I'm gonna get to actually see that one, is Star Wars. I'm so hyped for Star Wars Episode 7. That's the one movie I don't want to miss. After my daughter is born. I was actually toying with the idea of taking my daughter, but she's only going to be like 5 months. And everyone said it would be a bad idea, but it's hard to explain. But just the thought of having Star Wars back, and it's looking so good. Everything I've seen about Episode 7 looks good, and because Star Wars is Return of the Jedi is the second movie that I ever remember seeing. E.T. and Return of the Jedi are the two movies that impacted me the most, and because I went to see them in the theater, and they impacted me so much that it started my fascination with movies and so on. And linking Star Wars with the birth of my first child is really hard to explain, and I want to make that epic, so I'm still trying to figure out how I'm gonna do that. But it's such an amazing feeling to know that my daughter came the same year that Star Wars came back, and it looks like Star Wars is gonna come back in a big way. So that's the other movie that's my other cannot miss movie. Jurassic World and Star Wars are the two movies that I cannot miss at all. But other than that, the Pixar movie, I'm looking forward to the Pixar movie, but by the time it's released, I don't know if I'll actually be able to see it. But movie-wise, that's what I'm looking forward to. I honestly don't know what else is gonna come out this year that might be worth going to see and watch. The Poltergeist remake hasn't released yet, so I don't know when that's gonna get a release here in Mexico. Honestly, I'll probably rent it, or I'll see it when it comes out on DVD. I haven't heard any good things about that movie, honestly. I'm curious to see what they do to update certain things, but I've already heard that it's a mess of CG and just a lot of repeating the same things that happened in the first one, but in a lazy way. So I'm gonna see it, but I don't think I'll pay theater prices for it. So that's the only other movie I can think of that I'm interested in, or I'm curious to seeing anyway. But yeah, I can't think of anything else. I haven't been able to play the Splatoon demo. The thing with that demo is that you have to play it at specific times, otherwise you can't play the thing, and it's only good for an hour. When I tried to connect recently, I couldn't connect because I missed the time frame, and all the other times they were updating the server. I recently saw a review from Club Nintendo. Club Nintendo did a Game Vistazo to talk about the game, and it looks like a fun game. The main gripe everyone has is that it has no voice chat, but Nintendo, for the most part, they don't have any voice chat in their games anyway. So I don't see what the big deal is. You don't need voice chat for Super Smash Bros. For the Wii U. You don't need voice chat for Mario Kart 8. Splatoon is not a tactical shooter that you have to plan everything in advance and camp so you can kill people with snipers. The object of Splatoon and what seems to make this type of shooter so original is that basically it's one team against the other team, and the main goal is to paint as much of the area in your color as you can. So you got a roller that paints the thing. You got a paint gun that can also splash the area. So it's basically about who gets the largest percentage of their area painted in their color, and that's the winner. And honestly, I don't doubt that game's gonna be fun. Nintendo has this great knack for making fun games. Again, Mario Kart 8 and Super Smash Bros. Are great examples of how they can make a fun multiplayer game. And a lot of people are gonna bitch about it, the fact that it doesn't have voice chat. A lot of people are gonna complain that it's too kiddie, that you don't actually go around and killing people. But that's what I feel the industry needs more of. They need more colorful games. Like in the podcast I talked with my brother on the gaming gripes, they need more colorful games. When did having color on your games become such a bad thing? Everything nowadays is so drab, so realistic, so gray, so muddy, so ugly. And honestly, I feel that that's creating an ugly society because everyone's such a hater. They complain about everything. And I'm honestly happy to see that Nintendo is one of the few companies that is willing to take a risk and release something original and colorful. I mean, you have no idea how much I thank Nintendo for still having a vast color palette and avoiding going gray and dark and so on. What little they've shown of the new Zelda game looks to be on that same way. Everything looks so bright and so colorful and so beautiful. It's honestly, it's one of the things I think that Nintendo's still around. Even though a lot of people hate Nintendo with a passion for some reason, it's one of the few gaming companies that still stick to their guns and actually try to develop fun video games. And I hope they continue to do that. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little worried with their plans for mobile, because Sega and Konami have stopped making consoles to focus on mobiles, and it's killing the industry. Honestly, it's killing the classic companies that I grew up with and that I love so much, like Konami and Capcom and so on. Thankfully, Nintendo's still hanging in there, because even Sony doesn't have anything like that. Everything is photorealistic with Sony. The one franchise that they had that was bright and colorful and beautiful was Ratchet and Clank, and I haven't seen anyone talk about anything regarding Ratchet and Clank. And I was playing a little bit of Quest for Booty, and I love how colorful the world is. I love how addicting the sound of bolts is. It's I'm honestly genuinely worried that there's not going to be another Ratchet and Clank game, and that Into the Nexus is the last game that they're ever going to release, because everyone wants realistic. Everyone wants everything to look mature and dark and moody and everything, and that's not what I'm interested in. That I didn't. Maybe I'm becoming an old fuddy-duddy, and I'm starting to sound like, oh, in my day everything was better. But honestly, I look at the state of video games, I look at the state of comic books, and the things that are new and popular are not the things I'm interested in. So yeah, it's a very, very, very bizarre point that I find myself with my hobbies that I love so much. But again, thank goodness Nintendo is still there, and they're still hanging in there despite all the hate and all the complaints and all the criticism. I don't know what their next big game is going to be after Splatoon. The only big name they have left is Zelda, but they've announced that they're going to release that game, and it's not going to release this year or 2016. They gave an undefined date when that's going to release. So other than Splatoon, I don't know what else is in the works for. Oh no, that's not true. Actually, Star Fox Universe is another game that they haven't talked that much about, but they did announce that they are working on it, and it might release this year. Actually, I just remember a whole bunch of games, because Yoshi's Woolly World is also going to release this year, and they have these really super cute amiibos planned for them. That they're not made of plastic; they're made of yarn. As a collectible, that would be dangerous to take out of the box, because since it's yarn, it might get wet and it might rot, or it might start to fall apart, because basically it's yarn. But if you can keep that sucker in the box, it should last you a good amount of time. So yeah, at least 2 other games after Splatoon that I just remembered: Star Fox Universe and Yoshi's Woolly World. Because I don't know when Xenoblade Chronicles X is gonna come out. But the ones that are closest in the horizon are Star Fox Universe and Yoshi's Woolly World. So looking forward to that. But again, I'm not gonna be able to pick them up after getting my 1,200 games, unless I speed through a bunch of my backlog games, and I can use that as an excuse to buy those games. But yeah. So yeah, other than that, I can't think of anything else recently that has happened in comic books or gaming wise. My daughter's gonna be born soon. She's starting to move around more inside my wife, and I talk to her, and she seems to react to me whenever whenever my wife complains about our daughter that she's moving too much. I put my hand on her, and she seems to calm down. So my wife says that I have a very calming effect on our daughter. So hopefully that will stick after she's born. Hopefully that will still work well. I'll be able to hold her and she'll calm down. Very frightening. Not gonna lie, very frightening to. It's frightening, but also kind of exciting to know that I'm gonna be a dad soon. Because in my head, I imagine myself introducing my daughter to movies and anime and Nintendo. I want to go through the evolution of games with her, introduce her to the simple in a sense, Nintendo, the NES, the original one, because it only had two buttons. Even though the games are freaking hard, but I want to introduce. In my head, I have this illusion of, and this fantasy of introducing her to Nintendo, then Super Nintendo, then 64, then GameCube, then Wii U, and whatever releases when she's older. And the reality might be totally different. She might be into sports and not care at all about video games or comic books or movies or anime or anything. She might be into her own things, and that will also be okay. I just have this hope that somehow I'll have something to share with her. But despite if she doesn't like anything that I'm into, whatever she likes, I'll love, because she's my daughter. But it's also very frightening because I see the state of the world today. There's so much weirdness going on with people nowadays. Recently, you hear so much about all these violent acts, and it's very scary to think of bringing a child into this modern world. But at the same time, I imagine me and the wife holding the daughter and having her say mom and dad and seeing her grow up. It's very frightening, but again, so exciting. I'm going through a really, really exciting time, and yeah, I'm hoping everything works out, and it's life. It's very, very hard to put into words, but that's the other big thing I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to spending time with my wife and our daughter, and seeing her smile and grow up and everything else. It's a very exciting time, but yeah, still trying to see how I'm gonna be able to record videos and take care of my daughter. Of course, my daughter takes precedence. She's gonna take precedence over video games and everything else, and YouTube. But I'm gonna try to be consistent. If I get a break and my daughter's sleeping, and I can record something really quick, I'll do so. But yeah, that's the state of everything so far. I'm hoping my brother will be able to get his internet working next week, so I'll be able to talk with him about the topics that we were gonna set up. But just like I said, I'm trying to be consistent with you guys. I'm trying to, trying to be consistent more than anything. I'm trying to not slack on YouTube, and these audio casts are really easy for the most part. All I have to do is talk with you guys and just edit them with the image and then just post them on YouTube. So they're very easy. But I don't want to fall on making these things. I do want to record one each week, but I want to do something else. Still working on some tales on my Facebook page, the Vargas Vault Facebook page. I'm talking about Silent Hill. Again, when I post in that page, I post everything in Spanish. So I might do a Tales video on the topic that I'm doing this week, which is Silent Hill, another Konami franchise that is essentially now dead in consoles. The last official game that released was Silent Hill Book of Something for the PlayStation Vita, I think. But the Vita's pretty much dead also, so yeah, I think the last game I'm gonna pick up. Well, the only two last games I need again is Origins and Downpour, but I'm talking about each one of the games. So expect a Tales from the Vargas Vault video on my very short Silent Hill collection. But I think that's what I'm gonna do most. I'm still gonna do very short comic book pickup videos, and I'm gonna do more Vault videos. Other than that, I'm still thinking what else I can do to complement the YouTube page. But until then, I don't have anything else to talk about. So thanks so much for sticking with me on this solo Super Vargas Bros audiocast. Like always, thank you so much for any feedback, thumbs up, comments, what have you. I appreciate the feedback. But until I see you all again, this is Vargas XX78, thanking you all and signing out.